So, everybody kind of commented on how big the space in India really is. And I think that that's something that is kind of starting to show up. So I have two sides to that. One is, before all this happened, the food industry was labeled as, don't eat processed food, they're bad for you, they're this, that, the other. And then we finally took off during the pandemic, right? When we said, okay, people wanted processed food because it's easier to make, it's that kind of stuff. So I think we have a huge opportunity just within the country to be able to provide good quality, good tasting processed food and take away the misconceptions associated with what we do. So a lot of actually had somebody kind of come up to me once and said, no, you have to put a preservative in your food, otherwise how does it stay? And so the insinuation was that we don't put the preservatives on the label. So I think our one big opportunity right now is to educate the public to say that look, processed food is not all bad. We are all actually trying to strive for the same thing, and to introduce variants that really allow the Indian public to play with it. The other thing that I think we have a huge opportunity for is capitalizing on Indian food being more convenient, right? Which is what Gitz's base was that. But the idea is, we were having an interesting conversation at home the other day where I said, I'm happy to cook a pasta, but I don't know how to cook that. So if that is the case, and people like me are really the next generation that's going to be looking for food, we want easier solutions for specifically for Indian food. So I think that if we can make that available to the Indian public, the global world has already started accepting Indian food as the next, as the next market. So we will be able to kind of play that tune alongside. And for competitiveness around the world, I think that it's important that we acknowledge everything that's related to it, right? That we're open to all sorts of collaboration.
Yes, so very, very pertinent question actually. So if you see in 25 years, largely, I would say it's not that totally. We as a industry, I'm talking on behalf of largely food processing industry and including Coca-Cola and that, have made interventions because that was the demand. Even Samana was referring to that point. There's a lot of consumer perception. You have to, you know, bring that acceptance, or you have to ready the market in terms of whether it's distribution systems or is it product innovation, making that availability. And you have to bring new products or brands to the market and introduce those to that consumer. So that part, I think fairly we have made some journey and headway there. The next opportunity which we see, partially we have done to raise the bar of the ecosystem players, suppliers, and things around that. Next level which I see it bringing the loop and bringing it full circle, go towards the backwards. So there is a supply side interventions we have already done by making the product available to the market. Now we have to look for the farmers, maybe go beyond the processing units who are sourcing from farmers. Can we do something for farmers I'm not saying as a philanthropic only, obviously with a business case. Can we go to them, talk to them, provide them something which is more processable, such varieties? Can there be some good agriculture practices shared with them, and then can we take those things to farmers as industry, or maybe through some mechanism? Definitely individually companies are doing it, and obviously if that happens and there is a quality assurance around it, we definitely can cater to the local markets and definitely go beyond India to supply to other parts of the market or within the system. And definitely that's what I see as an opportunity going forward.
Prolonged recession, and there may not be very quick opportunities that will come abroad out of COVID, but yes, long-term opportunities are going to be plenty, and we will see shifting of the supply chain. I think India has set a fine example of whatever little work it's done. I think it's a country that has delivered. So unlike China, where there's a lot of issues with quality product that you can get from there, you just don't know where you can go with a slightly unreliable supplier. Barring the top company or two, you are really, treading on a very, very slippery ground over there. Whereas in India, that is not so. And as India becomes a little bit more visible, I think we are going to gain. I think the government needs to do a few things, and I would take it from where Anam has said. Very important that we should seize the time to bring in the varieties on the horticultural side and on any other side that bring about the desired efficiency increase. The plants will come, but the bigger problem is that the varieties are not okay. I can see the recent example where government asked us to intervene in the Haryana tomato problem. We found that the farmers are growing varieties which are so unprocessable that they're just unviable even at a throwaway price. You just can't process them. The whole plant capacity comes down. So there's a need for bringing in the right varieties. That needs to be done ahead of time. Industry will follow that. Okay, so it should not be done that first you put up the factories and then because these things are going to take a year, 2 years, 3 years. Factory will be ready, and then what do you do for 2-3 years? And by that time, the unit will go sick. So they need to, start these programs on the agricultural side. On the business side, opportunities can be expanded if the government was to have a duty refund scheme which is a little more pragmatic or easy. Indian raw materials are not priced as per world market. Everything has a very high duty. We have a protection for our farmers. But when we are trying to export, especially when the MSME industry, the small scale person wants to import, he really cannot take advantage of an import license and do everything. The whole way in which, the refunds of duties paid, presumed duties that have been paid, is quite tedious. And there's a need for refinement over there. So that will open up a lot more, players to the international market and let the efficiencies flow through. Right now, we are restraining the industry somewhat because visibly to an entrepreneur, it doesn't look viable until and unless he gets very serious and, then it delves into the whole gamut of the supply chain, that how the refunds will come through, etc. And I think till that much time, the game is lost. So opportunities will come through, but I'll, back Mr. Sharma on this, that we need to first start growing the right varieties. At least as far as agri-produce is concerned, that is the key thing.